That's what I'm talking about, man. I told you, I said, like, oh, they got to wrap this fight up in the next few chapters right here. The next couple of chapters. It felt like a poetic ending. Chapter 1049 is the chapter that Kaidou goes down. Down goes Kaidou. We got him, ladies and gentlemen. We got him. Luffy just took him out. Yo, this was good, man. Like, all this stuff, like, hey, is Luffy Joy Boy? Yeah, Luffy's Joy Boy. And I like how, like, Yamato gives Kaidou the warning, like, hey, like, I heard about Joy Boy, and you got Kaidou, and he's talking to King. He's like, yeah, I think I know who Joy Boy is. He's gonna be the man who comes here to take me down, but I guess that's never gonna happen. Nobody's ever gonna actually beat me. That's exactly what happens here. This is so good. And like, that backstory about Kaidou, like, we knew a little bit, but this actually makes me look at Kaidou a little bit different. I'm not gonna go as far as to say like Oda made him sympathetic or anything like that. I'm not gonna go that far, but I will say that like Kaidou actually won me over in this chapter. Again, I'm not saying I'm sympathetic to him, but I respect the character a lot more now. And I kind of feel like under different circumstances, Kaidou and Luffy, they might have actually been friends, assuming that Kaidou wasn't a raging dick like he is in this current timeline here. So backing things up a bit, let's look at the recap portion before we get into the other part of the review itself. So the chapter continues where the last one left off, where you got this giant fist that's coming out the sky. You got all this hockey that is crackling through the sky. You got Kaidou and Luffy charging towards each other, and Kaido's kind of patronizing Luffy a bit. He's like, man, well done, Straw Hat. You fought so hard to reach this point, but you're not going to be able to change the world. And you see the side eye of Kaidou as he's saying this. And I like how Oda just decides to put the flashbacks on the other side of him. And it kind of serves as a brilliant transition in that sense right there. And it just shows you the illusion of Kaido's flashbacks are weighing very heavily on his mind. And I thought that that was a brilliant use of paneling. And basically, what we find out is that when Kaidou was 10 years old, he was already considered to be the ultimate soldier of the Vaka Kingdom. And as they're talking, Kaidou is basically saying, I don't know why we gotta obey these orders of celestial dragons. And you have Kaidou chained up, and basically Kaidou is being told by one of the rulers there that like, you're going to join the Navy. And when Kaidou hears this, it's like, why do I have to be a government lapdog? And then we find out more of why Kaidou isn't necessarily high on the celestial dragons as well as the different rulers that you had of all the different nations, because one of the, I guess, admirals at the time says that in exchange for custody of Kaidou, this country will receive the right to attend the next reverie. And once this happens, Kaidou just absolutely loses it. And we see right away that Kaidou's got a 70 million berry bounty because Kaidou's escaped. And we find out a little bit of the humor. Basically, Kaidou, he gets out, but then he gets captured again because he allows himself to get captured because Kaidou knows that there's free food there. And it kind of makes you think about like how even in our own world, you got some people where they go to prison and when they get out and they see that like it's, you know, not necessarily easy for them to, you know, get food and etc. They might commit a crime, just go to jail again. Because at least in jail, you know you're going to get a roof over your head and you know you're going to get fed. I'm not necessarily condoning that type of mindset, but there are people that do think like that. And so you kind of see how Kaidou had a little bit of that in him, but he has so much of a free spirit that that was never going to be a reality for him. And you have this moment where after Kaidou's just knocking everybody around, you have Whitebeard, and he basically tells Kaidou that Rocks wants to meet you. And we find out that Kaidou, that's how he joined the Rocks Pirates. And we then see a little bit more of how they go to God Valley. And we're told that the Rocks Pirates were disbanded. They were defeated because Garp was the one that took them down. And we know as the audience that it was Garp and Roger who battled against them. And I find that very interesting just to see the other side of that. And you have this moment where Big Mom is like, hey, where did Kaidou go? Where'd that rat go? And you have Kaidou basically being told that you become the embodiment of might. And throughout the history of humankind, man has always solved its problems through action. And Kaidou says, of course that's the case, because humans at the end of the day, they're animals. It's always been about the survival of the fittest. And we have the prophecy that's given that the Rocks Pirates, the ones that remain, will end up making something out of themselves. And that ends up being the case because you had Whitebeard go on to become a legend. You had Big Mom and Kaido end up becoming Yonko. So it's one of those things where you definitely see like the Rocks Pirates, they were definitely some heavy hitters. Like we knew it once we found out about the lineup, but just seeing it kind of develop via the flashback really makes you appreciate some of the stuff that we were given. You know, different authors use show and tell. This is a great opportunity to actually show us some of that stuff. And the fact that we were kind of open up the chapter with a flashback, that was kind of like a little red flag right there that Kaido might be meeting his end. And that's exactly what we get in the chapter. And basically, after we have this moment where Kaido's like, hey, you know, I wonder where Yamato heard about Joy Boy. And apparently in Oden, in his journal, he has this desire to open up the country, and he's going to open up the country in order to welcome Joy Boy. And you have this moment where, as Luffy is battling against Kaido, you have Yamato basically saying, I know Luffy's going to win. She's telling Momo to go ahead and do it. You have Momo doing his best to try and save the island from crashing down on the people. You get some of the reactions with the folks down on Wano. You got Jinbei and you have Raizo continuing to put the flames out by using the water or Zo. You have the different reactions from people. You actually got Nico Robin underwater, and because she's got a devil fruit, not necessarily the best thing for her. You see the same thing with Brook. You see how Law looks like he's worrying a bit as well. You got Sanji turning into super simp mode because Sanji's got a beautiful woman on his hands and on his arms as he's attempting to save them from the water. And that's when Kaido's asking him, like, hey, what kind of world are you going to create? And we get this beautiful double page spread. It's actually a series of double page spreads here where Luffy is saying, like, I'm going to make a world where my friends can eat as much food as they want. And I like how this chapter basically builds off the last one, because in the last one you saw how all those people were starving. And earlier on when Luffy got to Wano, that was one of the things we saw where when Luffy saw that there were people starving, he wasn't necessarily a big fan of that. So I thought that that captures Luffy so great because it's so simple, but it's so simple, it's brilliant. It's so innocent of a request. Luffy just wants the people who are his friends, which are basically the people of Wano, to be able to eat as much as they want, because it's a human right to be able to eat food because you need food to stay alive. So I thought that that was actually very brilliant right there. Very brilliant writing by Oda. And you have this moment where you get that final double page spread where Luffy's saying as they want. And Luffy just cold clocks Kaido. And the way that you see Kaido when he first hit, you see how the speed lines are put on there. But then in the next panel, he's just completely out of it. All you see are the lines. And it just shows you the force of how hard Kaido's been hit. And I like how one of the last panels you have of the chapter itself are where one of those balloons have the words, I want to see mommy on there, which just kind of shows you that the last dregs of oppression of Wano have been taken out. And so it kind of coincides with Kaido's defeat. And you get that moment where Kaido says that he's the man who shows up to beat me in the future. In that case, I suppose we'll never see him. That's Kaido basically acknowledging in the flashback by thinking about this that Luffy is indeed Joy Boy. And I like how the next to the last panel that we see is Kaido completely knocked unconscious. And above that, you have one of the other ones that says, bring back the Kozuki clan and beat the scary dragon. It just shows you that Luffy, in a lot of ways, is fulfilling a prophecy. So overall, this was a good chapter, man. Like, I like what Oda did here. This was the right time to actually take down Kaido. And I gotta say, because we've dealt with the Four Emperors, it's one of those things where Shanks has a lot to live up to, because this battle with Kaido, this was legendary. This lasted for a minute, but this was a legendary fight nonetheless. So my chapter question to you guys is going to be, narratively, how big of a payoff was this battle with Kaido, and where does this battle with Kaido rank for you personally when it comes to all the battles that we've seen in One Piece so far? But so always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.